Hi, and welcome to this week's vlog. Today, we're going to see the first little bit of gameplay from my first prototype. Exciting times. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Last week's episode got quite a bit of traction on the algorithm, which was great. And I got loads of comments and likes. And I think we should be passing 400 subs by the time I publish this, which is awesome. I really wasn't sure how many people would tune in to watch me wandering around the woods, but clearly I've struck a chord. This was a bit of an experiment on my part because, as everyone's aware, the world is slowly filling up with AI slop, and it's going to be more and more difficult to stand out just with the sheer volume of stuff that is competing for people's attention. And I think the key, or this is what I'm banking on, I think just putting your face out there and having those human connections, even though I'm walking around the woods on my own talking to a camera, but even just engaging with people on a personal level, I think is going to be the key to build an audience and build a community and just make yourself relatable and stand out from all of the other nonsense that's out there. Anyway, that's what I'm banking on. So I'll keep doing this. And, it doesn't come naturally to me talking to a camera like this. It takes practice like any skill. So I think I'm getting better every time. I'm having to do less aggressive cuts to make it flow. So yeah, please bear with me while I'm learning on the job. So before we get to the actual game, a little bit of just general updates. So I was supposed to be getting my first payroll this month, paying myself my first salary. But when I came to do it, I realized I completely forgot to register for PAYE and my corporation tax. So that's going to be delayed for a while. It's not the end of the world because I've got plenty of savings that will pay the bills for now. But yeah, that was a bit of an error. I need to put that in my checklists. If you're starting a company, don't forget, register for PAYE if you want to pay yourself. Also, just put in my first invoice, which is cool. This is for my fintech client. It's keeping me very busy at the moment, but it's really giving me some really essential seed cash into the business, which is going to give me the time and space to get the game studio going properly. I am still 5 days a week for this client, dropping to 4 next month though, which is going to give me a bit more time. All the work that I'm doing at the moment on my game prototypes and all of this is being done in my spare time outside the day job, which is pretty demanding. It's it's not easy work. It's quite long days at times, so I'm kind of burning the candle at both ends right now, but it's all for a good cause in the long run. It's all going to pay off. So on to the game. Over Christmas, I sketched down a few different ideas for some game prototypes. And I had 3 that I quite liked, and they were kind of differing in complexity and just the kind of resources that we required to actually make the games. And this one I've gone for is probably the simplest. It's got the clearest gameplay loops in it. It's the least demanding in terms of artwork and animations and stuff. So this is the one I've opted to go for as my first title. It's not to say that I'm actually going to release this, because this is still very early days prototyping. And when you're prototyping, you need to make sure you've actually got a game that's worth building before you commit to going full production and spending your life savings on getting it shipped. I have codenamed this game Subliminal. It's just a code name. It's not going to launch under this name. Probably trademarked already, but you need some kind of name to give your source control repositories and your documentation and stuff. So it's just a placeholder, but it's what I'll have to refer to it as for now. Kind of inspiration for this is just taking elements of games that I really like and mashing them together into something which I think can stand alone as a unique product. So the kind of inspirations for it are Faster Than Light, which is a little 2D roguelike spaceship sim, I guess. Homeworld, which I really love. I think most people will be familiar with that. 3D real-time strategy game with spaceships. So the basic gist is that I really like roguelikes. It kind of fits with my middle-aged lifestyle. I like a game where I can sit down and do a run in like 20 minutes or so. Even if it's a duff run and you get your ass kicked, you still chip away at a few resources or something. It's a nice, rewarding loop. It's nice to just dip in and play a meaningful bit of game. And the kind of reward loops of roguelikes really appeal, and they're quite straightforward. There's no like mystery gameplay mechanics I need to figure out, quite well trodden ground, and they work. It's the reason why roguelikes have been really popular. One thing that bothered me with Faster Than Light is that like the core mechanics were quite good, but the actual combat was pretty meh, bit uninspiring. You know, sound effects aren't great, just like rolling the dice, firing the guns. It was engaging enough and it worked. I played a lot of it. It's really quite addictive, but I feel like I could do something more with that in terms of the combat experience. And then coming on to Homeworld, I think for me one of the most satisfying bits of Homeworld is just zooming in on the ships and watching them flying around and all the little turrets swiveling and the shots firing and the missiles and stuff. It's really satisfying to watch. But you didn't get to watch it much because when you're zoomed in, looking at all the ships doing their stuff, you're not paying attention to the actual strategic side of it. So you end up having to zoom out and concentrate on playing it rather than watching it. And also with Homeworld, I've always felt like the strategic part of it was quite performative. Like you have the different formations and stuff, but none of it really makes that much difference. It's mostly a like matching game. Like if you see this enemy ship, then send this ship to attack it. It's kind of set up. It's fairly basic. And the different formations you could put them in just didn't really seem to do very much. Third bit of inspiration for me is Ian M. Banks's sci-fi novels, particularly his culture ones, where he dives quite deep into kind of what combat must be like for ships traveling at close to light speed or beyond light speed in his universes. Basically, the idea that when ships would engage in combat at very high speeds and in space, which is massive, the actual combat is probably over in like a fraction of a second. So my idea is that you have the kind of macro loops of Faster Than Light with the classic roguelike elements of a map, and you choose your path through the galaxy or whatever with various different options and different consequences for which routes you go. The combat takes place as you do the jump from one point to another, and it takes place as you're doing the like light speed hyperspace travel or whatever. So with that in mind, over the weekend, I put together this basic game loop, which is the jump process. So you start off and you get to lay out your fleet in a formation, and then you initiate the jump, and the fleet goes up to light speed and starts traveling. And then there'll be like an alert, like a proximity alert, something ahead. And at that point, time slows right down to a crawl, like bullet time, Max Payne style. And the incoming threat appears, and the ships come past each other, and all the weapon systems just go nuts. Incoming enemy fire, your ship's attacking them. All plays out in kind of slow motion. It's a fairly quick combat loop. It's not like lots of back and forth. It's all about how you set up the formations. And then once either all the threats have been destroyed or they've gone past, you go back up to full speed, and then you can come out of warp speed and arrive at the destination. And that's one jump. And now I am going to magically cut to my study where you'll be able to see the current prototype in action. This is not some kind of gameplay reveal trailer or anything. Like, this is behind the scenes, very early prototyping. Okay, so here we're looking at Unreal Editor. All of the stuff I built in here is in C++, except for various bits of configuration stuff, but I'm not going through that now. I will talk plenty more about Unreal in future. So I go full screen and play. So this is the planning loop where you lay out your fleet in the formation that you want. So click them and just place them on the grid where you want to go. I've got a few ships here which I bought from the Unreal Marketplace. Just bought some meshes just so it's a bit nicer than looking at white boxes. Helps sell the idea a bit, although it's not at all the kind of visual style I'm going to go for in the end. It's just a placeholder. So I've laid out the fleet and I'm ready to kick off my jump to the next waypoint. So you get to see my amazing particle effects here. Had to learn Niagara this weekend. And you're in transit, and maybe you always get intercepted, or maybe sometimes you just arrive at the destination. But in this case, you get the alert, and time slows down, and the enemy fleet appears in front, and the two sets of ships start approaching each other, and now the weapon systems take over. You can see these missile ships down the bottom have opened fire. Targeting is very rudimentary right now. I think they just go for the nearest. And when you get a little bit closer, the lasers will start firing. And when the missiles start coming in, these PDC cannons will start firing to try and intercept the incoming missiles. Those are the three guns I've got right now: PDC cannons, missiles, and lasers. So this is the combat sequence playing out with very placeholder assets and some really janky particle effects. But I think that's it. Yeah, we got through it. Lost a ship or two, and some of these are quite battered, as you can see. But that's like the main combat bit playing out. I don't really know how interactive I want to make that phase. Is it enough to just sit and watch that play out after you've set it up beforehand? I mean, there's going to be more to it than just laying them out on a hex grid. You'll be configuring the systems on each ship and allocating power to different things and stuff like that. But this is one of the things I really want to try out. Like, is this fun? Does it work? And then time speeds up, carrying on onto the destination, and then you arrive. And then maybe you can do some repairs here. Maybe there's a station you can buy some gear, or the usual kind of loops in these kind of games. So that is a quick demo of what I managed to throw together at the weekend. It's just getting the systems in place so I can start trying to work out if there's a game worth making here. So you've just seen a very early build, and you probably get the idea of what I'm going for, but there's tons of more work to do. I need to keep adding more systems in there, so I've started to get that interactivity that's required. It's very just like passive right now, so that's going to be the priority for next week, adding in things like shields and a few more weapon types, and thinking about whether I want the player to be able to move the ships during combat. Not sure on that one yet, but I can try it. So yeah, that's about it for this week. I had lots of good questions on some of the comments last week. I think some of them weren't their own videos, so I think I'll start addressing some of them in future. So for now, really appreciate the support. Keep hitting the likes and subscribes, and see you guys next week.